Good morning, my name is Matthew Hugo from Weather Commerce, and this is this morning's weather brief on Monday the 4th of July. Today's weather brief will cover a summary on the West European 5-day average temperatures, the UK, Europe, Scandinavian precipitation, and finally global weather alerts. We will start by taking a summarised look at the mean surface temperatures across Europe. And between days 11 and 15 there is some model agreement and consistency to suggest that temperatures will be either near or perhaps trending 1 to 3 degrees below climate averages, as rather cool conditions dominate across most of Europe. Between days 6 and 10 a similar temperature trend is also forecast within this time period, with again temperatures either near or perhaps trending slightly below climate averages across most areas, but particularly across central and also northern regions of Europe in particular. And finally, within the short term, temperatures are forecast to be generally near climate averages over the next 2 to 5 days across most of Europe. And now taking a look at the United Kingdom in some closer detail. Between days 11 and 15, as we move towards the weekend of the 16th and 17th of July, the majority and all of the available forecast models are in agreement for temperatures to be at least 1 or 2 degrees below climate averages. Confidence levels are medium or perhaps even medium to high to suggest that temperatures are likely to slightly below climate averages, given that there is good model agreement and consistency from previous days. Between days 6 and 10 in and around the weekend of the 9th and 10th of July, again there is good model agreement and consistency, with all of the available forecast models signalling temperatures to remain at least 1 or 2 degrees below a climate mean of around 16 degrees Celsius. The Metro model, as represented by the solid black line, is somewhat of a mild outlier and is being disregarded at this present time. Relatively cool and unsettled conditions are forecast to be responsible for the slightly below average temperatures. The following weather chart for Saturday the 9th of July helps to illustrate why temperatures are forecast to be slightly below climate averages within the medium to long term, as an area of low pressure dominates the weather and brings predominantly cool and unsettled conditions in association with a west or northwesterly air mass. Finally, within the short term, over the next 2 to 5 days, temperatures are forecast to start off near or perhaps even trending just slightly above climate averages, but towards the 6th and 7th of July, cooler and more unsettled conditions are then forecast to develop, and as a result, temperatures are forecast to drop and become 1 or 2 degrees below climate averages by day 4 and 5. Now taking a look at the expected European temperatures in some closer detail, and between days 11 and 15, confidence levels are medium or perhaps even medium to high, given that there is some good model agreement and consistency between the various forecast models for temperatures to be either near or trending slightly below climate averages, as rather cool conditions dominate across most of Europe. The following model comparison graph from Switzerland helps to illustrate this situation, and as you can see within the highlighted red circle covering the 11 to 15 day period, the majority of all of the available forecast models have temperatures at average at very best, if not trending 1 to 3 degrees below climate averages, as predominantly cool conditions dominate across most of Europe. Between days 6 and 10, many areas of Europe are forecast to have a similar temperature trend as evident within the 11 to 15 day time period, and that is for temperatures to be either near or again trending slightly below climate averages, particularly across some central and eastern areas of Europe and also across the United Kingdom. And taking a look at the latest France model comparison graph to help illustrate this situation, and it is interesting to note that there is some model divergence present, with a general split in the forecast models, with some of the available forecast models having temperatures near to climate averages, as represented by the EC deterministic ensembles, for example, yet in contrast the GFS ensembles and deterministic models have temperatures at least 2 or 3 degrees below climate averages. Given this divergence, confidence levels are relatively low to suggest that temperatures will be either near or potentially trending slightly below climate averages. And finally, within the short term, over the next 2 to 5 days, confidence levels are medium to high, if not high, to suggest that temperatures will be very close to climate averages across most of Europe, with little signal for any extremes either above or below climate norms. And now taking a look at the expected precipitation totals across Scandinavia. Well, over the next 5 to 7 days, precipitation totals across many areas of Norway in particular are forecast to be above average, with perhaps in excess of 100 to 125 millimetres of precipitation possible. In contrast, many southern and eastern areas of Scandinavia, including many southern regions of Sweden and also Finland, are forecast to have precipitation totals generally near or potentially trending slightly below climate averages. Within the longer term, between the 11th and 19th of July, a more uniform precipitation total is expected, and that is for precipitation totals to be generally near to climate averages across many areas, though potentially still trending slightly above across some southern and also western areas of Norway in particular. And now taking a look at global weather alerts, which highlight significant deviations from normal. And with the exception of some southeastern and eastern areas of Australia, the rest of the country is forecast to have a very dry 7 to 14 days in particular. Many areas are forecast to experience little or no significant precipitation, as high pressure dominates the weather and produces a very dry 14-day period. There is a continued signal for many southern and southwestern areas of the United States to have mean surface temperatures at least 6 to 8 degrees above climate averages. Mean surface temperatures of at least 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit is expected, which is comfortably 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, as some particularly hot weather dominates across many southern and southwestern areas over the next 7 to 14 days. Finally, and in contrast, many southern areas of Brazil are forecast to have temperatures at least 6 to 8 degrees below climate averages over the next 7 to 10 days. Particularly cold weather dominates, with mean surface temperatures near to, if not just slightly below, freezing. Thank you for listening to today's weather brief. Goodbye.